Listen up, partners. This is Good, Bad, Ugly on World Improv Network.
Good evening, everyone. I am Alex.
I'm David.
And we are your astute wind counselors this week to get you through with any daily grind issues or any problem that you are experiencing and you want us to resolve for you. Let's get to our first winner. Our first winner is Raul from Yucatan, Mexico. And he writes, Dear Win, as someone who works on tips, I often feel underappreciated when people don't tip me. Any suggestions on how I should deal with these situations? Dave, what do you think?
Well, Raul, I'm just going out on a limb here and assuming you're a server of some sort in a restaurant or something. And I have to say I've suffered the same pain that you have. And I've also been on the other end of it. I actually forgot to tip somebody once.
Oh,
Dave. I forgot. Okay.
Did they give you good service or were they just horrible?
No, it was good service. I actually forgot, but I was running out to my car and this individual actually chased me out to the car.
No freaking way.
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
No, but and said, you didn't. Was there a reason you didn't tip me? I'm very bold, and I said I'm sorry. I actually laid the tip right there. So sometimes people forget, But if it's a consistent thing, maybe you need to look in the mirror and self-appraise your own service.
But
abilities.
he actually chased you outside of the restaurant.
But I tipped him because it was great service. So that was pretty bold. I think anyone that's been in the service industry. You know what it's like, and how the public can be absolutely horrible sometimes. Absolutely. And some people are just jerks.
Yep.
And so I just play. I also worked with this woman and people that were just jerks because we worked at kind of a trailer trashy restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So we would pretend like we were training each other. So I remember like I'd take over to the table and I'd say, "Well, hey folks, this is Amanda, and she's just learning tonight, so be patient with her." And we'd totally screw up their order. But then they'd tip a lot because they felt sorry for her. But then she'd run to the to the bar to start bartending, and I'd run to the kitchen. So if they were even watching, they know we were kind of messing with them.
Well, that's a good point. That was a good little tactic too. Raul, I would think what you need to do is you're assuming that, or I'm assuming that actually the tip or the lack thereof is not till after they've finished and everything. And so you see it like, wow, they didn't tip me, they stiffed me. So if they haven't left the premises yet, what you ought to do is you ought to run to the front door, back door, side door, any kind of door, and lock them all. I mean, literally bar them up and don't let them out. And then undergo a full restaurant, full nightclub, full bar, wherever you work, battle royale, and let everybody just have their way with them until you literally squeeze the tips out of their skin through their pores. Like tears or like sweat. And then when you have enough, you say, okay, well, it's a $40 tab. You should at least give me $8 or $10. And you got $10, maybe $20 for a little bit of extra because, they put you through the initial pain. And then you just reciprocated. You got $10 to $20 worth of tears or $10 to $20 worth of sweat of literally iron coming out of their pores that you can then turn into nickels, turn to the bank, and there's your tip.
Or you could actually stay at the door and say, hey, how about a role play? Why don't you guys play the waitstaff and I'll play the jerk customer?
Yeah, and matter of fact, you feed me, and I'll turn around and won't tip you.
And just give me your wallet. And so we'll make it totally realistic. And what's your name, too? Yeah, I think anyone that's a jerk in the service industry, it just gets me all...
Yeah, gets you all fired up.
Ditterdated because I can't speak. But they should have to do a role reversal.
That's a good idea, too. I like that.
Yeah.
So, Raul, one of those two. Role reversal or lock them up, make it like a WWF battle royale kind of a deal until you get your tip that you deserve. All right, let's move on to our next winner, and that's Anna from Portland, Oregon, and she writes, Dear Win, what are the strangest things you heard someone say out loud that they didn't expect anyone to hear them say? Wow. That's kind of a thought-provoking question there.
That's like...
That's under the assumption, A, that they didn't want you to hear it or anybody to hear it, and B, what's really, really strange that came out of someone's mouth.
Yeah, and I think, Anna, I'm gonna think as I'm speaking because I think people that don't think before they speak live in this situation 24/7, so they tend to have had a lot of jobs in their history because they probably say things before they think them through. But I have to. So one experience that I can think of is my own personal experience. Like I train healthcare professionals, and so I actually am behind a one-way mirror. Okay. And I have a toggle switch and I have to talk through a microphone, but I'm actually the voice of a simulated patient.
Wow.
But the toggle switch actually gets stuck. And these are groups that go through it, and it got stuck one day. and I kind of get frustrated because it's an emergency medical situation. So I'm sitting back there and I'm like, this is the worst group ever. And actually the toggle switch was down. It went into the room, and the coach that was in the room, she comes out and she goes, they heard you in there. And I'm just like, I actually thought I was going to get fired. So,
wow.
I know.
You know what? I think the audience is booing that you didn't get fired, Dave, for that.
I know.
Well,
It was a tense day. I lost a lot of sweat.
yeah.
And weight.
Did you get $20 worth of nickel come out of your pores?
I think 22 because we weighed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and people don't realize how much nickel is in our system.
Exactly.
You know, in our mineral makeup within our bloodstream and stuff. You know, that's a really good question. I did overhear one time a guy talking about he forgot to himself. He was mumbling in the bathroom. I think it was like at Maggiano's or something downtown. And he was mumbling how he forgot to change his kid's diaper, and the kid's still sitting at home. So he forgot. He's like, he left his kid at home unattended without his wife or his girlfriend or whatever even knowing to go get something to eat. So now that's the first strike. And secondly, he forgot to change the diaper, and he was asking himself on what he thinks it's going to smell like. You know,
So like talking to himself?
Yeah, he's talking to himself. Is it going to smell like
weird.
this? Yeah, it's weird. You know, oh my God, is it going to smell like this? Is it going to smell like that? Is it going to smell like, you know, nickels coming out of someone's pores? Or is it going to smell like, you know, a pound cake? Or what's that diaper going to smell like when he comes home and hopefully his wife or his girlfriend doesn't catch him in the act and then he gets back in time to do it? I mean, that's just one thing. I mean, there's hundreds of things that I've probably heard that people were saying that they shouldn't have
Yeah, the
said.
strangest thing, I don't know. I'm going to have to tune into some alternative television.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And study up on this one.
Or you ought to just, you know, try to go online and see, you know, sessions with people that have Tourette's.
I think a lot of people that are under the influence of one thing or another tend to do that, but then they don't remember.
It's self-induced Tourette's?
Well, self-induced altered states where you say things that you don't want people. I think people like talking to yourself, like you were talking about, Alex. Like I, as a little kid, used to talk to myself walking home from school.
What would you say to yourself?
I don't know. I would just like do a little play in my head or something. I don't know. But a neighbor was watching me one day, and this was like 7th grade or something. And I was walking home, and they were staring at me, but I didn't know they were staring at me. And then they said, "Are you okay?" I don't know what I'm talking some gibberish to myself. Probably trying to solve a math problem or something.
Maybe you're trying to, you know, break Einstein's equations or something.
Trying to come up with a cure for cancer.
And that would be altruistic.
And I was interrupted. That's why we still don't have a cure.
That's why. Because your neighbor broke that creative moment where we had all of it figured out, and then bam, gone.
I had the equation.
And the whole world is worse for wear because of it. Or maybe better for wear. You know, it depends on what perspective you come from.
Someone else is going to get the discovery.
Yeah, that's true. So financially, you're probably going to miss out on that one, brother. Okay, let's move on to Haley from South Beach, Florida. Haley writes, "Dear Win, what's the best book of all time and why?" Dave, I know you've got quite a bit of books in your head. What do you think? Greatest book of all time and why?
Call me Ishmael. I'm totally joking. It's not Moby Dick, and it is certainly not Don Quixote at 900 some odd pages that I had to read in college. Remember nothing other than it's about a windmill and a skinny and a fat dude and a donkey. Can't you write that in like a paragraph?
You know?
So the greatest book of all time. What is the greatest book of all time?
At least in your experience.
You know, I don't read a lot, but I actually liked Illusions by Richard Bach.
Illusions by what's that about?
It's just some like new agey, funky stuff, but it was thought provoking for me, and it's not a new book. It's old, and I think you can actually still get a new copy at a bookstore.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, I don't know anything about that book, but I would have to say Cat in the Hat by Dr. Seuss. And it's very, I mean, anytime you're reading a book, of course, which is a very deep book. I mean, when you're talking about a cat in a hat, on a poodle, eating noodles in a puddle.
With a scuttle.
With a scuttle and the beatbox. Boom, boom,
go huddle. Take a huddle in the scuttle with the...
In a cat, in the puddle, on a poodle, eating noodles. With
the green eggs.
And ham.
Scratch the ham.
Ham. Yeah.
Scratch the ham. Take the cat in the hat with the red and the white.
And the puddle and the cat and the...
Like.
Yeah.
Just it's like a cat in a hat with a white and a kite with a bike with a spike.
And a spike. And that's why it's the greatest book of all time. Because it's more than just the words.
Hey, can we continue with this? Because I will take a close second with Illusions because Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss. I actually saw a presentation at the Children's Hospital by Dr. Seuss. This is when Dr. Seuss was alive. Theodore Geisel is his real name. All right, and I wrote him a letter, and I mailed the letter to where he lived in California. And this is not rhyming, but it's the story.
Is that really
so
where he's from?
He was, and I wrote a letter. I said how touching, like it took him forever to succeed, and how touching it was to see the presentation. He wrote me a handwritten letter back. I have this. He wrote me a handwritten letter back, and on Cat in the Hat stationery, and signed it Dr. Seuss. And I actually cherish that letter. It's not in a safety deposit box, but I did take a picture of it, and it's on Facebook.
Do you frame it? Frame that thing.
Yeah, I need to frame it.
Frame it. That
but
is
it's
really
like
cool.
I got a letter from Dr. Seuss, so I'm glad you brought that up.
And not only that, but he talked about Cat in the Hat, right? He signed it as
he had Cat in the Hat stationery, but he wrote the letter, so you know that was a long time ago.
Wow. You know what?
Theodore Geisel.
You know what? It just proves it. That's the greatest book of all time.
I think all of his books. Actually, one of his last books was great.
Yeah.
Oh, The Places We'll Go.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What's the one? Lorax or whatever?
Lorax.
Yeah,
Horton
good.
Hears a Who.
Yep.
It's kind of like all kind of jacked up people that found their place in the world with rhymes.
Well, and that's it. That's what we all are trying to do.
Yeah.
Trying to rhyme our way through life.
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. There you have it, Haley. And we got one more little piece of inspiration to get you the rest of the week, known as Horoscope Corner.
Love, fortune, status. Let us do your astrological chart. Horoscope Corner on World Improv Network.
Hey, Taurus, it's your week, and you need to watch out for a couple things, Taurus. You need to watch out for the herbs you're eating. You need to avoid chives this week because they're not going to suit you right. They're going to interfere with your sleep. One thing you also need to get into in your life this week, Taurus, is play games. And the game coming for you this week is Uno. Make sure you play that game Uno, and you will win every single time. Well, 9 out of 10 at least. Hey, folks, join us for the World Improv Network on AM 1340, FM 104.7. Join us on Facebook at World Improv Network, on Twitter at World Improv Net, on YouTube at World Improv Network, iTunes and Google Play Podcast at World Improv Network, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Win on Mile High Sports Radio. Don't forget to be a winner and interact with the cast by sending your suggestions or questions for each show segment throughout the week by hitting them up on Facebook at World Improv Network, on Twitter at World Improv Net, or by calling into the Mile High Sports Radio studio line on Sundays before or during the show. See you next week.